Today, I'm going to be going through my most anticipated reads for 2025. So I have a list of 5 that I want to talk about today, and I think I'm going to start off really strong with the graphic novel adaptation of The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. This is one of my favorite series of all times. I have basically this whole shelf dedicated to all of my copies, which is ridiculous, but I love this series so much. I could talk about this forever, but if you are unfamiliar with The Raven Cycle, I'm going to tell you what it's about. Blue comes from a family of psychics, only she has never had the same clairvoyant abilities they had and has always felt too ordinary within the magic that surrounded her. Enter Gansey, a rich student from Aglionby, the town's all-boys private school teeming with wealth, privilege, and trouble. Blue's always made it a point to stay away from its students, the Raven Boys. But when Gansey asks her to join him and 3 other Raven Boys on his quest to find a long-forgotten Welsh king rumored to be sleeping beneath the mountains of their quiet Virginia town, Blue doesn't hesitate. She jumps at the chance to finally be a part of something real and full of magic, a world she has been born into, and yet one that has always stood just out of reach. Soon enough, she's swept into a strange and shifting world woven into theirs, one far more dangerous than anything they could have dreamed up. I'm so excited for this one. Like I said, this is genuinely probably my favorite series that I've ever read in my entire life. I read this when I was in 8th grade, I think. I've read it 3 or 4 more times since then. I think about this series way too often. I am so excited for this one. Top of the list, easily. So number 2 on my list is also by Maggie Stiefvater. She's coming out with, I believe this is her first adult fiction. I think all of her books before have been YA. I'm actually not very sure what this is about. I just know that she's writing a new book and it's coming out and I'm gonna read it. January 1942. The Avalon Hotel and Spa offers elegance and sophistication in an increasingly ugly world. Run with precision by June Hudson, the hotel's West Virginia born and bred general manager, the Avalon is where high society goes to see and be seen, and where the mountains, sweet water in the fountains and spas can wash away all your troubles. June was trained by the Guilfoyles, I don't know if that's how you say that, the hotel's aristocratic owners, and she has guided the Avalon skillfully through the first pangs of war. Now, though, the Guilfoyle family heir has made a secret deal with the State Department to fill the hotel with captured Axis diplomats. June must convince her staff, many of whom have sons and husbands heading to the front lines, to offer luxury to Nazis, with a smile. She also must reckon with Tucker Minnick, the FBI agent whose coal tattoo hints at their shared past in the mountains, and whose search for the diplomat's secrets disrupts the peace June is fighting so hard to maintain. Hers is a balancing act with dangerous consequences. The sweet water beneath the hotel can threaten as well as heal, and only June can manage the springs. As dark alliances and an elusive spy crack the polished veneer of the Avalon, June must calculate the true cost of luxury. So this seems very, very different from what she usually writes. I'm excited just based on what I know of her writing. Her writing style is one of my favorites, so I can't wait for this. Okay, so my number 3 on this list is The Faceless Things We Adore, and I no longer remember how I came about this book and what really caught my attention in the first place. This is by Hester Steele, and now I will tell you what it is about. It's a tale as old as time. Break up with your boyfriend, travel to a foreign country to find yourself, end up in a sex-fueled commune worshipping an angry god. When Aoife stumbles across the farmstead, she finds everything she's been missing, a community that loves her, sexual freedom, and a greater purpose. She could actually be happy here, if it weren't for the teenager they keep locked up in a cabin with no windows, or the mysterious rot spreading through the farmland, or that some of her new friends talk about their leader Jonah with more fear than love. When the god wakes up and it all goes wrong, it's only Aoife who has the power to choose what will become of their tiny reality. Awkward, clumsy Aoife, who was always told she was weak, and is just now realizing the depths of her strength and the pleasures of her rage. Whoa! So I've never heard of Hester Steele before. I'll probably look into their books more. Oh, okay, so I think this is Hester Steele's debut book. So I don't remember how I found this, but I'm glad I did because it does sound really interesting. The next book on this list, number 4, is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. This one I know a little bit about. I think the only Grady Hendrix I've read is My Best Friends Exorcism. I actually read that last year for the first time. I believe it's set in the 70s and follows 3 or 4 girls who have been sent to this home specifically for pregnant teenagers, and I think get a hold of magic somehow. I'll read you. There's power in a book. They call them wayward girls, loose girls, girls who grew up too fast, and they're sent to Wellwood House in St. Augustine, Florida, where unwed mothers are hidden by their families to have their babies in secret, to give them up for adoption, and most important of all, to forget any of it ever happened. 15-year-old Fern arrives at the home in the sweltering summer of 1970, pregnant, terrified, and alone. Under the watchful eye of stern Miss Wellwood, she meets a dozen other girls in the same predicament. There's Rose, a hippie who insists she's going to find a way to keep her baby and escape to a commune, and Zinnia, a budding musician who plans to marry her baby's father, and Holly, a wisp of a girl, barely 14, mute and pregnant by no one knows who. Everything the girls eat, every moment of their waking day, and everything they're allowed to talk about is strictly controlled by adults who claim they know what's best for them. Then Fern meets a librarian who gives her an occult book about witchcraft, and power is in the hands of the girls for the first time in their lives. But power can destroy as easily as it creates, and it's never given freely. There's always a price to be paid, and it's usually paid in blood. I don't actually know much about Grady Hendrix' writing style aside from My Best Friends Exorcism, so I don't know whether going into this it's going to be the very same style or if they get very different. My Best Friends Exorcism was kind of campy and I don't want to say lighthearted, but not like a genuine horror. In my head, I feel like this would be the same, but I also don't know the themes or the plots or the structure and style of his other books, so I'm very curious to see how this one is. I think this would be a fun one. I wouldn't be disappointed if this turned out like My Best Friend's Exorcism. So the last book on this list, I actually didn't know until just yesterday, so this one is like a super recent find, and that is The Bones Beneath My Skin by TJ Klune. What really caught my attention when I first saw this was that road trip was mentioned. I love a good road trip book. I've read 2 of TJ Klune's books before. I've read The House in the Cerulean Sea and Under the Whispering Door. I loved The House in the Cerulean Sea. I have on my TBR currently Somewhere Beyond the Sea, which is the sequel to that, which just came out this year. The covers of his books are some of my favorite ever. They have like this low poly thing going on. I love it. They're so pretty. I love the way that these book covers like use color. I love it. So let me tell you about The Bones Beneath My Skin. In the spring of 1995, Nate Cartwright has lost everything. His parents are dead, his only brother wants nothing to do with him, and he's been fired from his job as a journalist in Washington, D.C. With nothing left to lose, he returns to his family's summer cabin outside the small mountain town of Roseland, Oregon, to try to find some sense of direction. The cabin should be empty. It's not. Inside is a man named Alex, and with him is an extraordinary 10-year-old girl who calls herself Artemis Darth Vader. Artemis, who isn't exactly as she appears. Soon it becomes clear that Nate must make a choice. Let himself drown in the memories of his past or fight for a future he never thought possible. Because the girl is special, and forces are descending upon them who want nothing more than to control her. I love nothing more than weird little quirky characters. I'm so excited to read about Artemis Darth Vader. I also feel like maybe I've read enough TJ Klune to kind of maybe make some assumptions as to what might happen. I love the characters in his stories. They're so intricate. You can tell they are very thought out. I love them. So there's a lot about this that just sound very interesting. A little road trip, a cabin in the woods, a character named Artemis Darth Vader. This says it was originally published in 2018. I accidentally muted myself. So I think the last piece that it caught, I was confused about the TJ Klune book. I think I figured it out, and I think it's re-released. I don't know why, but I think it's a book that was originally published in 2018 and is being re-released in 2025. I don't remember what else I said. It probably wasn't that important. That is all that I have today. Thank you for watching.